understanding of the natural world and what's in it is a source of not only a great curiosity but great fulfillment. David Attenborough.
Good morning, Charu Chachi. Good morning, Yuntan Mama. I feel on the top of the world today. What with the birds chirping their morning ragas, even Polly seems to be in a cheery mood.
Good morning. Yes, it is a lovely morning.
Good morning to both of you. I can see that you are full of life today, Tara. So, what are we going to be discussing today?
Since today nature seems to be unusually alive, can you please tell us the story of how life began on Earth?
Yes, please Chachi ji, that would be so interesting.
In that case, I shall begin with how our Earth was formed.
Yay! That would be even more exciting.
This was so long ago when there wasn't even a solar system. No sun, no earth, no other planets. Just a swirling mass of stardust.
And then?
And then a nearby star exploded, sending shock waves through the dust cloud and increasing its spin rate. As a result, most of the mass got concentrated in the disk's center, forming the Sun. Planets including Earth were formed by smaller concentrations of mass rotating around the center.
Kya baat! Did you hear that, Polly? So the explosion of the star gave rise to our Earth?
It was a very different Earth, a molten mass with no atmosphere or oceans.
Then the molten mass must have begun to cool, to harden into a crust.
Yes, and volcanoes spewed out gases while doing so to give rise to an atmosphere.
Was that atmosphere also very different?
It contained gases like ammonia, methane, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. As these gases cooled, they formed clouds and the water vapor precipitated as rain, giving rise to oceans.
It must have rained for months on end to fill up that oceans.
Around 4 billion years ago, the first forms of life appeared. Single-celled microorganisms that, through evolution, formed the very complex multicellular forms of life that we have today. The first plants that were in the oceans carried out photosynthesis to make their own food, giving off oxygen.
And that is how our atmosphere got oxygen. Did you hear that, Polly? What exactly is evolution, Charu Chachi?
That is another story. Evolution is a very gradual process by which, over a period of several years, a living organism changes to adapt better to its environment. It can best be explained through examples. The first dragonflies had appeared on our planet more than 250 million years ago.
Was that even before birds like Polly appeared?
Much earlier. But those dragonflies were huge, with a wingspan of 75 centimeters, as much as that of seagulls. Through evolution, they became smaller and smaller until they became the size we see them now. Can you guess how this helped them to adapt better?
Polly, do you know the answer? Was it because they could fly more comfortably through the low vegetation without their wings colliding with the leaves and stems?
Bilkul sahi. Another example is how through evolution, the modern peacock has far brighter colored feathers as compared to the earlier peacocks. Now, can you guess why this could have happened too?
Think. Is it because females select the male peacock with the brightest colored feathers as their partners?
Shabash! And each male peacock that is selected will pass on his genes for bright colored feathers to his progeny. And this peacock too, on being selected as a partner, will pass on his genes to the next generation of peacocks.
So, the peacocks with not so bright feathers do not get a chance to pass on their genes as they are not selected, right?
Tara, you are so quick and smart. Before I can rack my brain to think of the solution, you are out with the answer.
Indeed, she is quick. And what you are talking about right now, Tara, is called evolution by natural selection. The best genes, or the genes for the most suitable adaptation, are naturally selected to be passed on to the progeny.
I remember learning last year about the pepper moth that changed its color from pale grey to black after the industrial evolution began. The factory smoke began covering the buildings with the grimy black soot. So, the black moths, which were camouflaged with their dark surroundings, were not eaten by predators and thrived by natural selection. The pale grey ones that were easily visible were eaten up and could not pass on their genes.
Wah, you talk like a real scientist. I am getting to know so many stories I can tell my guests at the hotel.
Evolution by natural selection has also resulted in pesticides becoming useless to eradicate pest insects.
Kaise?
The artificial pesticide may kill some of the pest insects like mosquitoes or cockroaches, but a few strong individuals may survive. They will pass on their genes of resistance to their progeny, all of which turn out to be resilient.
And so, man keeps producing stronger and stronger pesticides, but the mosquitoes and cockroaches too become stronger and stronger.
Brilliant!
So, the moral of the story is do not use artificial pesticides at all. Nature's natural pesticides like lizards, spiders will eat up the mosquitoes.
This natural selection occurs when a mutation or change happens in the genes of an organism. Would you like to hear about yet another example of mutation?
Yes, we are all yours.
The finches on the Galapagos Islands have a variety of beaks. During droughts, finches with larger beaks fare better than those with smaller beaks, so that they can feed on the only seeds available, the large ones. But when it rains, there are a lot of small seeds to be found, as a result of which finches with smaller beaks fare better. Because both types of beaks can survive in the environment, both remain in the population.
Did you hear that, Polly? Fortunately, you haven't ever had to face a drought. But how do we know about these prehistoric creatures like the giant dragonfly?
That is another prehistoric tale altogether. Fossils of plants and other animals have been found by people called paleontologists, buried inside the earth, trapped under rocks, or even as impressions on rocks. Many insect fossils are found when they get trapped in amber, a kind of plant secretion which keeps the specimen preserved in it for thousands of years.
Yes, I have seen this gum-like secretion on the bark of many trees.
These fossils, whether in rocks or in plant sap or even in the soil, give us a peep into the lives of prehistoric plants and animals. It is only through fossils that we are aware of the existence of dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs? Please tell me about them.
They have existed all over the world since 230 million years ago. We know this because the fossils of these prehistoric reptiles found in different countries are very similar.
Aha! You have already told me the continents were all joined in one land mass called Pangaea. Later on, they separated.
You will be surprised to know that India is one of the most fossil-rich countries. Fossils of dinosaurs have been unearthed from along the banks of the river Narmada, from a small village called Dirang near the Khasi Hills in the northeast, from Meghalaya, and even from Kutch and Rajasthan.
क्या बात है? Polly, what would you do if dinosaurs still roamed in our country? Give them a peck on the head?
Ha 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 ha.
Now for the most interesting bit. In Gujarat, the paleontologists even discovered some hatcheries or nesting sites of dinosaurs.
What were the nests like? Did they find any eggs?
Yes, they excavated fossilized eggs that were laid in pits in the ground. They must have got buried under sand and rocks when natural calamities like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes took place.
So, to summarize all that you told us, Charu Chachi, we have learnt about the evolution of different life forms since the time they appeared on our planet through the fossils of their dead bodies.
But there are living fossils too.
Huh?
Your eyes seem to have grown as wide as bhakris with wonder. Living fossils are those organisms that were so perfectly formed that they didn't need to undergo any changes at all through millions of years. Like the cockroach. We see it today just as it was way back when it first appeared on the planet. Also, the magnolia tree among plants and the horseshoe crab among marine animals, all living fossils.
Talking of marine animals, Charu Chachi, I remembered that people have even unearthed ammonites from the Himalayas.
Ammonites are marine animals that are found in the ocean depths. This proved that where we are standing just now was the bottom of an ocean.
कितनी अजीब बात! So, all the microorganisms, plants and animals evolved over millions of years to what we see them as now. It is so fascinating. Each living being has its own story to tell, and there is so much abundance of life on our planet.
You speak very wisely, Tara. In fact, our country has so much biodiversity because of so many different geographical features and so many habitats. It has 10 biogeographic zones.
What are these zones?
A biogeographic zone is an area marked out according to its geographical features and having species of plants and animals that have similar properties. You are looking very puzzled. Ready for a game?
Yay! Quiz time! Yontan Mama, you too would like to participate, wouldn't you?
Charu Chachi first writes down the names of the 10 biogeographic zones on a sheet of paper. Tara and Yontan Mama have to guess which zone she is describing. Here are the 10 zones she wrote down. Trans-Himalaya, Himalayan, Desert, Semi-arid, Western Ghats, Deccan Peninsula, Coasts, Gangetic Plain, Northeast, and Islands. This zone extends across Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, the Lahaul-Spiti Valley, and a part of Kinnaur. It has evergreen conifers as well as alpine meadows. You find here the Asiatic ibex, snow leopard, wild yak, and the migratory black-necked crane.
Ah, this is my home zone, Trans-Himalaya.
Now, this zone covers parts of Rajasthan. and the Kutch region of Gujarat. It gets scant rainfall. Drought-prone plants like babool and wild date palm grow here. Animals could be the Indian wild ass, desert cat, birds like the great Indian bustard.
I know. Desert zone.
Score is even. The next zone is sandwiched between the desert and Deccan Peninsula regions. Its vegetation comprises of dry, deciduous and thorn forests, home to the Asiatic lion, the sambar and jackal.
Semi-arid zone?
Wah! You are one up on Yontan Mama now. The next zone, let's see, stretches along the west coast. It is declared as a biodiversity hotspot for its abundant flora and fauna, home to more than 4,000 species of plants, one of them being the karvi, which blooms once in 8 years and covers the area with its profusion of purple blooms. The prominent fauna include the Malabar grey hornbill, the Malabar giant squirrel, and the pig-nosed purple frog.
If it stretches along the west coast, it has to be the Western Ghats. Yoo-hoo! Buck up, Yontan Mama!
The next zone covers much of the Himalayas. The vegetation may vary from alpine meadows to rhododendron forests to mixed deciduous forests, and one even finds a lot of orchids. The animals found here are the markhor, the bharal, musk deer, Himalayan tar, and hangul.
This one is for me, Tara. It is the Himalayan zone.
Good for you, Yontan. Now let us move on to the largest zone that covers much of central southern part of India. The forests are mostly deciduous. Trees like teak, sal, bahera, palash, bonfire abound. Animals seen here are the barking deer, chowsingha, nilgai, gaur and elephant.
Central India? Gaur. Think. Could it be the Peninsula zone?
Spot on! Yontan, you are facing fierce competition. Now try and guess the next zone, which is actually a group of 836 islands that have a diverse array of corals off its coasts. It experiences heavy rainfall for almost half the year. The vegetation includes the stemless Naipa palms, the tall Padauk trees, and evergreen and deciduous forests. The prominent fauna include the Narcondam hornbill and the largest land crabs, the robber crabs.
That is as easy as a pie. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, of course.
The zone I shall now be describing is the meeting place of the Himalayas and Peninsular India. It is also a biodiversity hotspot. The cool, humid climate has given the region evergreen as well as semi-evergreen and cloud forests that have fern trees and a variety of orchids. There are tall trees like the holong and camphor. The zone is famous for its insectivorous pitcher plants. Amongst the outstanding fauna are the elephant, sirao, clouded leopard, hoolock gibbon, the only ape of India.
I know this one, the Northeast Zone.
Tara, now you need to buck up. With only 2 zones left, it should be easy to guess. I am talking of the zone which covers the Gangetic Plains. A lot of agriculture is carried out in the alluvial rich soil. The natural vegetation comprises the khejri and babool trees and thorn bushes on the western tract, while on the eastern side, Native trees like the red silk cotton and golden champa are seen. The animals found here are rhinos, hispid hare, and hog deer.
Naturally, this change cannot be the coastal zone, so it is the Gangetic Plain.
Right, you are. The 10th zone, the coastal region, includes the extensive coastlines on the western and eastern sides of India. The natural vegetation is mostly mangroves and coconuts, and marine fauna like crabs, fish, mud skippers, and dugongs abound. While the three of them were sauntering about, they came across a stream. Tara cupped her hands and drank from it. Polly too quenched his thirst and then squawked happily.
This water is so cold and tastes so pure and refreshing. Even Polly enjoyed drinking from this stream.
It is a tributary of the Satluj River. It comes from the melting glaciers. All the rivers in the Himalayas are formed from the melting snows and so are very pure.
Here in the Himalayas, there are several rivers. The Indus is the largest, dividing into 5 tributaries: Ravi, Bias, Chenab, Jhelum, and Satluj. All 5 of them draining into the plains of Punjab. Hence the name.
Oh, so it was on the banks of the river Indus that the Indus Valley civilization came up long ago?
The river Ganga too is very long, more than 2,500 kilometers, and is considered as the holiest of rivers. The Ganga joins the river Brahmaputra before forming the world's largest delta when it reaches the Bay of Bengal. It is here, around this delta, that the world's largest mangrove forest, the Sundarbans, stands. And it is here that we get to see the Royal Bengal tiger swim across the creeks.
I wish I could go there one day just to watch this magnificent animal swim. What about the river Brahmaputra, Charu Chachi? Isn't that also supposed to be huge?
Indeed it is, but most of its journey is in Tibet, China, and Bangladesh. Every year during the monsoons, this river gets swollen and overflows its banks, flooding people's homes and even the Kaziranga sanctuary close by. That is why it is called the River of Sorrow.
And what about the other rivers of India that do not arise from the melting snow, Charu Chachi?
Those are the peninsular rivers. They depend on the rains and are seasonal, many of them drying up by summer. Most of them flow across the Deccan Plateau from west to east, ending in the Bay of Bengal. Only the rivers Narmada and Tapi flow westwards, ending in the Arabian Sea.
Thank you so much, Charu Chachi, for all the interesting stories you have told us about our natural world. I feel inspired to compose a poem on what I have learned.
And so, Tara sits by the stream in the lap of nature and composes a beautiful poem. I see trees and streams, mountains so pristine. I see carpets of blooms, bees and butterflies too. I hear cheeping of birds, the roaring of oceans, the magic of the rains filling rivers in the plains, dolphins playfully romping, hoolocks loudly calling, tigers stealthily stalking. This and so much more fills me with joy, with so much wonder. of our awesome natural world.